Welcome to a new episode of the Big Money Stylist podcast. I am a new face, not that new, but I'm a new face to open this show. If you haven't met me before, my name is Katie, and I'm the Director of Operations here at NBR Education. Today, I have a unique opportunity of hosting the podcast with one of my favorite people, Miss Jackie Veda.
Hello, hello. I am a very new face on the podcast. First time.
A new face on the podcast, but not a new face around here.
Longtime listener, first time guest.
Also longtime friend of mine. So
Yes.
This could get weird. We don't know. It probably will. Each week
I
on
hope
this.
it does.
It probably already did. I'm just kidding. Each week on the podcast, we try to bring you some tips, tricks for both in front of the chair and behind the chair, but also just a little bit more of the insight of the mindset that goes into just the life of being a hairstylist and mainly the life of being an MBR artist, wouldn't you say?
I would definitely agree with those statements.
So our topic today, I don't remember what it is. Jackie does.
To grow, you have to leap.
This is actually the perfect topic for the two of us to discuss together because we've actually been friends for over 20 years, I think.
We're right around that 20-year mark, I think.
Yeah. Okay, we're not going to age ourselves. Good call. But I'll say, like, leading into this podcast, I was like, wow, I can think of so many different times in which I've seen Jackie make this leap in a different way, shape, or form in her life. And then there's times when she's seen me do that. So before we get into that, Jackie, tell everybody just a little bit about yourself and how you came to NBR.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I've been doing hair for a little over 20 years now. And I've done extensions that whole time, all different methods, all the ones that you can think of. And Katie and I were the only ones that did extensions at our last salon that we worked at together. And when she and Crystal discovered NBR, it was like, what is this witchcraft that's happening? We didn't believe it. We didn't believe that it could be as amazing as it truly is. We thought we could figure it out ourselves, and that was a lie. And so after Katie and Crystal took their first education, BMS Con 1, they came back full of Kool-Aid and sprinkled some of that Kool-Aid dust on me. And I was like, yes, give me more Kool-Aid. And so then I took my first education just a few months later. And then I was hooked as well. So when the opportunity presented itself to work at the mothership of DKW Styling Salon, I jumped on it. Mm-hmm. And it was always my goal to be a part of the education team because giving back to the hairdressing community and sharing all the things that I've learned over the years, which has been a lot, is really important to me. So I think that sums up that part.
Yeah. And so, now here you are. You are a stylist at DKW. You're an educator for MBR Education. It's been a couple of years. I don't know how many at this point. We don't have to count. And I think a big misconception that we still get today is that because we work at DKW or because we're involved with MBR Education, that we don't actually ever have these moments of having to leap or having to, push through that glass ceiling or having these hard moments where you're like, okay, am I committed? Do I see the vision? Is this what I really want? Yes, I'm so scared. Just do it. Right?
We can cuss, right?
We can.
Okay.
I just try not to do it too much because otherwise it becomes so natural for me.
Yeah, just fucking do it.
Yeah, just fucking do it.
No, it happens on a very regular basis. I mean, even I'll say for myself, just last week, it had been several months since I had taught an intensive, and I was feeling, maybe a little self-conscious, maybe a little bit worried that I wasn't, primed and ready. But I did it, and I'm very proud of the way that I showed up, and I believe the students had a great experience. And so I had to take that leap of faith in myself that I know all of this material like the back of my hand. I do it every single day. And it's all there for me to grasp inside my mind and get out of my mouth. Being pregnant, that's a little bit extra challenging right now, but that doesn't mean it's not in there.
For sure. And it's interesting because we were just talking about this like 30 minutes ago in our team meeting. For those of you who don't know Jackie, she's always cool, calm, and collected, even when she's not. She always She always just seems, very at ease, super optimistic. And so really, like, I had no idea that you were feeling hesitant about that class.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm glad that you just rocked it, which is of course what I expected. But okay, so now let's go back to the beginning. Okay. So, I came back from BMS Con 1 along with Crystal. We came back and we were like, Jackie, you got to do this. This is so awesome. Like, do this now, please, please, please. And then we were like, oh, and by the way, in the meantime, like, we're firing all of our clients. Not really, but we were like, I'm going to tell my first step was getting rid of men's cuts and colors. And I remember how challenging that was for me. What was your experience?
I was very excited to do it. That didn't make it any less challenging because ladies, as you know, and you've probably experienced, some of your male clients are probably kind of creepy. Not all of them, but there's probably at least some, if not a majority, that are. And there was like a weird, like, I knew that they were going to make it weird, and that made me feel uncomfortable, but that also made me even more steadfast in my conviction that, like, yeah, these guys have to go. Like, why am I tolerating them making me feel uncomfortable for fucking $40 every 4 weeks? Like, no.
Can I tell the story?
Yes.
Okay, so myself, Jackie, and Crystal have actually worked together. We worked together for over a decade. And Jackie had this client who came to her for over 10 years. And, about every 5 weeks for a haircut, I'd say.
Yeah, something like that.
And every single time, and like at the salon we worked at, it was very upscale. And so like the men's haircuts were nice. Like they would change into robes. They'd come over. We'd give them a great, head shampoo, head massage, cut their hair, take them back to the bowl, re-shampoo them to get all those little hairs off, bring them back over. I mean, we really tried to go the extra mile. And granted,
it was a full experience.
And this was almost 20 years ago. So there weren't like these high-end like barber shops now where, you get a good experience. So anyways, there was this one guest that she had, and this guy had zero shame, zero. If he's listening to this podcast, you know exactly who you are. He would literally always be like, oh yeah, and like have Jackie walk in front of him, and he would just stare at her ass the entire way to and from the shampoo bowl, like checking her out to the point where, like, if you were in the room, you'd be like, ew, why is that guy doing that?
And what's great is because he was behind me, I had no idea that this was going on until I think Katie brought it to my attention. I was like, oh, I didn't even know.
And do you remember what your response was?
No.
Oh my God, he's such a good tipper. So literally, I mean, and I am just putting this out there right now. Like, in my opinion, this guy felt like because he paid well and tipped well, he had the right to check out her ass as much as he pleased. And the tip was, you let me do that, here's your money.
Yeah, like a hooker.
Like a hooker. Like a hair hooker.
I am not, nor have I ever been a hooker.
And I don't know if this was true for this guy. I know that a similar story happened for me, and what one of the worst parts is that not only did I do his hair, but I did his wife's hair, his daughter's hair, and his son's hair.
That dude was a real creep, because I know exactly who you're talking about for that story.
Uh-huh. And so, I mean, honestly, like, I felt the same way you did. Nervous, excited, kind of nervous, kind of excited. You get those texts or the messages back from them and saying whatever it is that you're saying, and you process it. And I'll tell you what, it only took about 3.5 seconds for me to get over any feelings of guilt when it came to letting go of services that I literally hated doing. I hated going home and having these little like hair clippings in my bra.
Ew, yeah.
I hated finding them in my shoes
God,
months later. Yeah, oh God, right? Splinters in your bra.
No.
By other people's hair.
Not
just good. Keep going with that, and you know why we don't want to do it. But I remember being like, okay, oh my God, I feel so free. And I feel like all of this weight has been lifted, and I didn't even know I was dealing with this. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have no money. Oh my God. And then I looked at my books and I was like, oh my God, there's so many clients. Oh my God, how am I going to do all these clients? Ah!
Yeah, There were still too many clients.
There was still too many clients. And I mean, for me, like, it was a huge eye-opening experience of like, I determine my life. I determine my happiness. I determine my path. And every single day I'm living my life. How am I living it? Am I loving everything that I'm doing behind the chair? Or am I like dreading seeing his name on my books again, knowing he's going to touch my ass and pretend like it was an accident every single appointment for 9 months? True story.
Gross.
You can't accidentally touch someone's ass every appointment for 9 months and pretend like it's an accident.
No.
Right?
That's a straight up lie. And I'll say, getting into the industry when we did, and, I think it's gotten better now. But anyways, the whole, attitude was that, you take whatever service. Like I can actually recall being told that we are public servants.
Oh, yeah. Which we are, but
we're
also people.
Yeah, like you have to have some boundaries, obviously. And so being, sort of brought up, if you will, in that culture of you're a servant to these people. Yes, they pay you, but you don't get to dictate what your schedule looks like, what your life looks like, what services you're taking, because you just have to be thankful that anybody is willing to give you money to sit in your chair. And that really couldn't be further from the truth. So like any kind of conditioning that you might experience in your life, it is a huge leap to get away from that.
Yeah.
Because you've been taught that there's no other way and this is the only way. And then here's something that's radically different, but you're like, I want that. How do I get that? Like, sometimes you do just have to have that, leap of faith where it's like, I'm just going to go for it and I'm just going to fucking see what happens.
Yeah, I know. And I think back to our experience at that salon, and I'm so grateful. Like, I'm so grateful for the leadership and the mentorship that we got there. And I'm so grateful for the owners and like for their allowing us to really like develop into these people that we wanted to be, even when it was to the point where we were like, hi, so we're not going to take these specific clients anymore. And I mean, they really just embraced it. So if any of you are not looking for hair extensions and you live in the Orange County area, I'm just going to give a shout out to Daniel Michael Salon and San Juan Capistrano. Because honestly, like, without these leaders who allowed us to take those leaps, it would have been a lot harder to follow that voice that was like, you want this different life. You can have it. Like, it's right there. Just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we really did have a great space to grow as artists and as people. We were given a lot of freedom.
Yeah. And so now, here we are. Jackie is the most full-time stylist at DKW. I don't know how to word that in any other way.
Well, I think technically
she's over full-time.
I'm the only full-time stylist at DKW.
Are you 3 days a week or 4?
I'm 3.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm 333, which is the DKW full-time.
It is.
So
she also spent
I'm the only one.
10 years in stilettos behind the chair.
Oh God, I can't do that
I'm
anymore.
not sure how she still stands to this day. But I'll tell you that Jackie's work ethic is honestly just as great as her everyday demeanor. She's cool, calm, and collected. She's always pleasant. It doesn't matter if she's having a bad day. Like, she leaves that at the door and she makes it all about her guests. Yet, she chooses to take 3 guests in a day without any overlap. And she's also extremely low maintenance when it comes to utilizing help behind the chair.
Oh my God, I didn't know this was going to be like a Jackie Pump Up episode.
It wasn't planned to be, but while we're here, we might as well do it.
I mean, I'm going to take it.
Well, and where I'm going with this is I really want you to talk a little bit about like the difference between, your life then and your life as a stylist now. And really like into that part of like, what sort of leaps did you make that gave you this new life?
Okay, so let's see. Maybe about 6 months before I started at DKW, I took on my own assistant at my last salon. But I was following, the more traditional model with an assistant where I was consistently double booking for the first time. And I was really learning how to utilize my own assistant to like my max benefit. So then coming to DKW, and now I'm only doing MBR because I was never got to the point where I was MBR exclusive before coming to DKW. I really took the things that I learned by that time having my own assistant, because though I definitely put him through the ringer, there was a lot of things that he couldn't do. So I still had to do a lot. So I think that I take that same attitude with the assistants now. I mean, I've definitely gotten more comfortable with handing off more tasks. I'm not going to pretend that I don't, but I always try to be mindful of what do I really need them to do. I'm mindful of the other stylists in the salon. And I really did have to, shift my mindset to that it's like, in a couple different ways. In one, that I do have access to a really talented team of people to lean on, and that I don't have to take everything on myself. Like I can't trust somebody else to do the work. Like that's been a huge mindset shift for me. Mm-hmm. And then number two, I don't remember because I'm pregnant.
It's a real thing, pregnancy brain.
But I think that was the most important point that I wanted to make, because
it's taking ownership of the appointment. And again, it's just like taking ownership of your life, because you can hire an assistant, but if you don't utilize them in the right ways, are they actually making you more efficient or effective, or do you just have a buddy hanging out with you behind the chair?
Yes, thank you for wrapping that up for me, Katie.
I mean, that's what I took from your share. So your pregnancy brain got it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and that does translate into other areas of my life too, where I'm constantly looking for ways to be more efficient, and utilize the different, tools and people that I have at my disposal. And knowing that I don't have to do anything alone, I think is like such a blessing. And it's a way of thinking that I haven't always felt comfortable having. So, I believe that the skills that I've learned through being involved, with this company has helped me develop those other areas of my life outside of the salon as well, where it's like, no, I can take control. I can take ownership. And that's not only okay, but it's going to be really beneficial to me and the other people that are close to me in my life.
Well, and it's also making me think like, here you are, you're pregnant with your first child. That was a leap.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, you obviously know how it happened, but, it was still a leap. So how is that? How are you showing up for yourself now that maybe is a surprise to you, or maybe, you wouldn't have expected?
You know what? I'm allowing myself a lot more grace and a lot more time to rest. And I'm relying on others even more, where even at the salon, sometimes the assistants have to tell me to sit down, that they've got it, because I'm like, there's still that tiny part of me that like, feels bad, where I'm like, no, I'm capable. I have the time. And they're like, just sit down. We got you. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really being like, okay, you know what? Like, you're right. Like, I do need to make sure that I am taking care of my body so that I can keep doing this till my maternity leave. Mm-hmm. And on my days off, like if there's a day that I feel like I need to just be on the couch all day, I do it. And in the past, I would have really beat myself up for that. But now I'm just like, hey, this is where I'm at in my life, and I need to tune in to the things that my body is telling me. And I need to listen to that, because otherwise I'm probably going to regret it later.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like 100% for sure. Okay, so now I want to go back to the intensive that you brought up a little bit ago. So for those of you who don't know, intensives are 2-day classes that happen here at our HQ. They currently only happen inside of our academy. The academy is a 4-phase program for hairstylists to learn the business, marketing, and sales behind the art of natural beaded rose hair extensions. It can be completed in less than a year. And within that, you actually come out to our headquarters twice once inside of the first phase and once inside of the third phase for these intensives. So which were you teaching a phase 1 or phase 3?
Phase 1.
Okay, so phase 1 is so unique.
Yes.
And it's really cool because we have some students who come in through open enrollment, which means they, go to our website and they apply and go through the application process and start from there. And then we have other students who started this year through our virtual experience. So they're kind of at different places. Everyone's super nervous, always super nervous. And they're all normally experiencing the same issues, even though they feel completely alone. So I'm so curious, what is your best advice for someone inside of phase 1 in regards to taking that first leap or the next leap?
Like the leap of like coming to their intensive or like after the intensive?
Oh, so like during their intensive.
During their intensive.
Yeah. Because think back to when you're in that intensive, where they're at, the things that you're hearing, like what's the number one thing that you want to be like, if you just do this right. Oh, she's already got it.
Okay. Social media, guys. I mean, broken record, but like everybody is so scared of social media.
I'm scared of it.
Hey, it can be a scary place. I'm not going to say that it can't, but it's definitely not as scary as you've built it up in your head to be.
100%.
Because, I mean, here's an example that I always use. How many times are you on Instagram and you're like, is Katie even still on Instagram? Because I haven't seen her posts in like 100 years. And then like you go to Katie's page and you're like, oh my God, Katie's been posting every day this past week and I haven't seen it. Mm-hmm. What the fuck? So that right there is like, even people that are following you aren't seeing everything that you're posting.
So you're not as annoying as you think.
Yeah, which does kind of suck because then you're like, well, I want people to be seeing it, but I don't want people to be seeing it. But I do, but I don't. Mm-hmm. But anyways, you're not as annoying as you think you're being. And then the live thing, guys. Okay. For the most part, when you're starting off your lives, nobody's going to watch them. You're not going to have anybody watching you, which is both, I guess,
blessing and a curse.
Blessing and a curse. Because everybody's very nervous about how they're going to come across on their lives. But I'm telling you that most people aren't going to see it. So really, what you need to change your mindset to is that this is practice for you to get comfortable just talking to the camera. This is practice so that when eventually people are watching, or you're doing something like a reel, or eventually you're filming your funnel, which if you're a student, you may already know about that, or you will find out about it, that you're not like, so I want to tell you about MBR extensions. That's something that I started learning, and it's really great. Like, you don't want to be like that in your sales funnel.
I know. No, that doesn't exude confidence.
So the only way that you get that confidence, it doesn't just like, you don't like wake up one day and you're like, oh my God, I love being in front of the camera and talking to the camera. This is the best. It doesn't happen without practice, without repetition. So just stop being afraid of social media and just literally just put yourself out there. And I know when I was in that position, I mean, I feel like I don't put myself out there as much anymore. But I mean, I would literally I would talk about anything. Like, you know, like a weird dream I had, or like something that happened to me on the way to the gym, or like bad drivers, or like the fucking smoothie I made. Like, I don't know. Like, I would just literally talk about anything.
And inside of the academy, we teach you how to take stories like the smoothie or going to the movies or whatever, and actually take those stories and turn them into marketing for your business. This is taught inside of all 4 phases of the academy. But the most important thing to remember is to just start. Because if you were like, oh, no, I'm going to join the academy and I'm going to graduate from the academy, so I'm going to learn all about it, and then I'm going to start my Instagram page.
Don't do that.
It also doesn't work that way. So if you think that you're going to do that, you're not. Joke's on you. No. But it's not, you can't have all of the knowledge and take all of the ingredients and put them all in the pot at the same time. The recipe is a building recipe. And the first thing that you have to do is just open the book. which means post on social media. Remember, nobody's watching you and nobody is criticizing you as much as you are criticizing yourself.
This is absolutely correct. And I love that you used a cooking metaphor.
It just came to me.
Because I also love to cook.
You know how my brain works. These things just come to me.
Yeah, cooking, baking, like you got to mix the dry ingredients together. And then you got to mix the wet ingredients together before you can combine them. You don't just throw them all in at the same time.
And they support each other. It's like the dry ingredients are NBR and the wet ingredients are BMS. And the two combined makes the perfect recipe.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh, that was good.
I like that.
We're totally going on a tangent here with that. Okay, so before we actually wrap this thing up, I will say for those of you who are now interested in what the Academy is, or you've heard me talk about the few things, we are actually leading up to our last virtual experience on the books for 2022. It is already sold out.
So sad.
So currently our only option for education is the Academy. You can go to nbr.education to learn more and tune in next week. And who knows who your host or your guest will be. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.